When it comes to the world of Boku no My Fly Agro Academia, some people become quite attached to their quirks and what they can do. Be it the Ida family having their close-tucked family secrets about how they can improve their engine-based quirk, or Mirio Togata who trained up his quirk to something that he could put on the level of most pro heroes. Though sometimes it's about the things that their quirks create that become a person's obsession. And this is true for the magical mushroom mistress whose focus is fixated fully on flourishing fungi, Kinoko Komori, also known as She-Mage. Kinoko Komori is a member of Class 1B, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't recognize her right away, because on the surface she appears to be a bit of a plain wallflower, or I guess wall fungi fits her best, given that she has an obsession with mushrooms in both growing them and spreading word about them, all thanks to her quirk. And even though Kinoko herself gives off that sort of vibe of a reserved, introverted person, she actually wants to become an idol hero herself. But before we get too into that, we should discuss the meaning behind her name, design, and of course her quirk, because they all tie back together. So Kinoko Komori is a name that works well with the naming themes of Hiroaka, starting first with her given name, Kinoko, which when you break it down, simply means a child of hope or a hope-filled child, which is kind of a simple and a bit generic name, but plays well into her part of being the next generation of heroes. She is someone who will bring hope to the world around her. But the name is also homophonous with the Japanese word for mushroom, and works well with her family name, as Komori when broken down means small forest, so altogether her name basically reads a small forest of mushroom, or a small forest of hope-filled mushrooms, which fits perfectly with the use of her quirk, this being the long-range emitter quirk, Mushroom. Mushroom is a shockingly powerful and quite terrifyingly effective quirk. This quirk allows Kinoko to spread or grow mushrooms anywhere and everywhere. How it works is, much like how actual mushrooms spread and grow, Kinoko will release a burst of spores from her body into the air, and once these mushroom spores make contact with any surface, a mushroom will bloom forth at an alarming speed. The speed in which mushrooms can actually grow is directly affected by the humidity of the area that they are growing in. So basically, the more humid the area, the more dangerous this quirk becomes. And if left unintended and unimpeded, the quirk could easily overrun an area with mushrooms, playing into her name, Forest of Mushrooms. And on top of Kinoko being able to make mushrooms anywhere, she's also able to make any kind of mushroom as well, be them ink cap, inoko, or even split gills. She's able to make any kind, they're all built into her quirk. This, of course, would assumedly include both poisonous mushrooms and, of course, hallucinogenic mushrooms as well. But we don't exactly understand the full scope of how she's able to choose the mushrooms that she makes, and this is only going off the assumption it works like Momo's quirk, where she just needs to know what type of mushrooms exist or what they're made of to make them, but it could also work like Sun Eater's quirk, where she has to actually consume the mushrooms to make them exist, which would limit her options quite a bit. Though what really makes her dangerous is she's also able to choose when the mushrooms grow as well, which might not seem all that threatening on the surface until you realize these spores mix with the air, and you can breathe them in, allowing Kinoko to grow a mushroom inside of you if she so wills it. And we do see her do this when she creates a mushroom inside the throat of Tokoyami. Though, she does hold off on doing this because she considers it very uncute and kinda gross, so she saves it for last case scenarios. Luckily, these mushrooms aren't permanent. They only last up to 3 hours at most and can be plucked off like regular mushrooms. Along with this, her mushrooms are also weak to anything that normal mushrooms are, like the fact that they can't grow on substances covered in ethanol or other fungicides, which is a weakness that can be used to the advantage of her teammates, making them immune to her mushroomy ways. She's also a victim to her environment, as in extremely cold areas her quirk is much less effective, as her mushrooms bloom much slower or can't bloom at all. Though, she does have hero tools to try to counteract these downsides, this being her handheld humidifiers, which convert water into steam to create a humid environment for her shrooms to grow in. And the canisters that are attached to the humidifier are, of course, upside down mushroom shape, which plays into the fact that all aspects of her in some way are inspired by an overall mushroom aesthetic. You have everything about her design that plays into it, from her red and white fly agric shape pattern found throughout all of her dress, headgear, and even frilly stockings, along with her inward curved bob haircut, which matches that of a mushroom cap, and of course her shiitake capped eyes, which have a cross-like slit in them. She even almost picked the hero name Nyoki Nyoko Nyako, which would have basically just meant mushroom girl, but it was later changed to She-Mage as the original was too hard to pronounce. And along with this, She-Mage was chosen because it has a double meaning, much like her given name and her old hero name, as even though it is homophonous with another type of mushroom, alongside that it also gives influence to her design, giving her a witch or mage aesthetic to it as well, with of course the mushroom cap shape to her hat being very identical to that of a witch's hat, and of course her long flowing dress, which does look like a mushroom cap but also looks like a witch's dress, which is a connection that dates back to the old 16th through 19th century European folklore about magic and witches, blaming some of the mushroom's more hallucinogenic or inebriating effects on witchcraft and magic, along with considering mushrooms to be a cult in some sense, given the fact that they can bloom in such odd patterns like a fairy ring. And this history actually works for Kinoko as a person, as it would appear that she is into the occult to some degree. As we can see from her casual clothing, she enjoys things like gothic Lolita fashion, and she appears to be interested in men like Tokoyami and Shihai, which makes sense for a mushroom as they enjoy growing in dark environments that she herself would enjoy darker subject matters and darker men. Though if there was one aspect of her personality that was incredibly bright, it was her goal in life, as Kinoko wants to become a Japanese idol hero. Now what a Japanese idol is someone or a group of someones in Japanese pop culture who perform or entertain, all the while being manufactured and marketed for their image, attractiveness, and personality, and most of the time they're given a gimmick to coincide this said image that's being marketed. This gimmick is usually the idea that they're trying to sell to people, and I can easily see Kinoko's image being mushrooms as her main appeal. She also fits the standard idol character type, where she, on the outside of her idol personality, lives a pretty boring and plain lifestyle. But if you ever interact with her, or she has to take the stage as her own performer, She-Mage, her personality brightens up and a lot of people see what she really is like on the inside. And sure, while idol culture in real life is very dehumanizing and awful, for the most parts in works of fiction, it's pretty harmless and is all about bringing joy and hope to people. She basically just wants to become a celebrity like Uwambi, where she can use her quirk and status along with her cuteness to sell products and make people feel better outside of actually saving people like idols are intended to do. Along with this, becoming an idol isn't supposed to be a permanent career choice. It's actually supposed to be something you springboard off of into other professions, with a large amount of idols being expected to retire into different careers after a certain age. And honestly, this idea of her spreading her name and image as an idol then retiring to a different career path plays quite well with her mushroom theme, as how mushrooms grow and reproduce as they spread and blow their spores outwards into the given area, casting a wide net to ensure that they connect with something, and then once their lifespan is over, they recycle and move on to the next mushroom. In fact, Kinoko is a great example of a character who sticks to their major theme all the way through, as everything about her character ties back to mushrooms in some way, while not having them all be the exact same reference. And while I don't exactly expect much from her in this series, I imagine she might have one or two good character moments in the future as we continue on in the series. And I know there's a bit of chemistry brewing between her and Shihai, as they both have confirmed feelings for each other, their quirks have great synergy with each other, and of course the fact that they are working together in pro-hero work. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a either off-screen or in-bio relationship brewing between the two. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/MediNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to grow a mushroom of your own, well, you can do so by buying a copy of Shimonetta, a boring word where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist, at buyshimonetta.com.